this is our last morning in the house. We complete 1 o'clock, I think, but we'll be gone by then. So Dave, as you can see, is packing our suitcases. Actually, the 2 suitcases the lorry with the horses is taking, because we're going to need quite a bit of stuff before our removal van arrives. And a lot of this stuff is for the dogs, which we vacuum packed, overnight bags and various bits and pieces that we're going to need, tools for putting up our electric fencing as soon as we get there. So as you can see, the car is pretty jammed packed.
Steph, this amazing journey, you're 2 weeks in, which is just amazing. You've done so much in 2 weeks as well. But just tell us, how did this happen? How did it all start?
Basically, I used to have a property with land back in England, and I had horses. And when I started my job at Venetia Williams, I had 2 horses that I loved, and it was always my dream to have them at home. Then, unfortunately, I got divorced and lost the house, and luckily then met Dave, moved into Ross, and I thought, well, I put the dream, on hold because I couldn't have a horse there. And we came to visit Dave's brother who lived out here, and when we both saw this property and it had the land, suddenly my dream became possible when Nick said that the house was for sale. Took 2 years in the making. We had to do a lot of prepping. We had kids at home that we had to sort of rehome, so to speak, in a nice way. We did find somewhere to rent, get them sorted, and sold our house. And we have moved out here with 2 horses, 2 dogs, and ourselves. And been here 2 weeks and absolutely loving it.
So Dave, Steph's told us her dream with the horses. What's your dream about here?
Well, I'd really like Steph to have the land that she's wanted for so long. I mean, that made me very happy that it was going to be possible, having been out here. So when I came out to see Nick, several times actually, whilst you were still at home, the building was really what grabbed my attention initially. I thought that it would be perfect with my skill set to build something that we could either move into and rent out this, or just have it as an occasional gîte to bring in some money. But since we've been here, that's sort of gone on the back burner. I've been very much into the horses, building fencing, because again, that's using my skill set. And we've had a great time. Well, it's only been 2 weeks, but the possibilities I saw in the house at the time during visits will be revisited, I'm sure, once we've got up to speed with the fencing and horses.
Tell me more then about the relationship with Nick. You've mentioned Nick. Tell us more.
Right. Well, Nick is Dave's brother. They are very similar in a lot of ways, and even so, his wife is called Steph as well. So Steph Gardner has moved out and Steph Gardner has moved in, which has caused amusement with some of the locals and a few complications with the notaire and stuff with the names. But so we'd always been invited, and we finally got the chance to come out about 2 years ago. I always felt that when I knew that they'd bought this 5-hectare property, that I would be incredibly jealous that it would be an ideal place for horses. And of course, when we came out here, it was absolutely perfect. We had a lovely holiday, and then we were just talking casually, and Nick actually said, well, it's up for sale. And both Dave and I sort of thought, that sounds interesting. But because we were both working, it would have to be when Dave retired, which was a couple of years' time. So Nick said, well, he was thinking of having that summer and then selling the following summer. So we went home and we suddenly thought, what are we waiting for? Why don't we just do it? So the plan was to actually be out here last year. But unfortunately, with the economy and everything else, and with sorting out our kids, it's taken us 2 years, but we finally did it. Nick and Steph were amazingly patient with us, because obviously Dave came over, saw the notaire last February. But he waited for us, and I'm very grateful to him that he did.
Dave, talk to us about the area.
Was this area on your radar even, or was even France on your radar? I I'll be honest with you, France was not on our radar. I'd spent a good few years renovating the property in Ross-on-Wye. I'm not sure it would be our forever home, but it was certainly going to be in the immediate future until the girls had grown up. Coming out here, that's just blew everything out the water, didn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
it wasn't planned. Neither of us know the area at all.
No.
We don't speak French, but we are going to be learning. It was purely the house and the possibilities that it would give us, and a retirement that we could really enjoy and not get bored, because just looking after the land, and also somewhere that our kids could come to, all of them, and have a great holiday whenever they want. And friends, you know, I see this as a fantastic entertaining house, and you know, the more people that we know that will venture out here, we would just love to have them.
This house would never have been on the radar if we were looking to move, let alone abroad in France. But since we expressed an interest, I've been out about 5 times on my own, spend some time with Nick. I've got to know the area, where the shops are, where the tip is, all the sort of things that you need to know. And it's just idyllic. And now, after 2 weeks here, this already feels like home, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. But yes, we have had an advantage because Nick and Steff did all the groundwork. They've made all the contacts. We haven't sort of just stepped into their shoes, because obviously we're putting our own stamp on it, but it's been really easy, and I don't think I would have the courage to have done it had it not been for them moving in here. I don't think I could randomly sell everything up in the UK, which is what people do, then come out and rent and find somewhere. I think that takes a lot of courage. This was the easier option, but it was just perfect for us.
Talking about it being an easier option, you know, there are still hoops to jump through to actually get the property moved to France. You know, talk to us about that.
Right, so it all started when we knew we were going to buy. We went to a Place in the Sun exhibition in Birmingham, which was useful because it suddenly opened up our eyes to actually all the paperwork and the red tape that you have to get through since Brexit. If you haven't got the right information, then you're not going to get your visa. You have to do everything by the book. When it says photocopy every single page of your passport, you photocopy every single page, even if it's blank. You provide all your bank statements that they ask for. You have proof of an address. Every single box has to be ticked, otherwise you won't get in. And just tips that I read up from people, where to go when you book your TLS appointment, which I've actually passed on to a friend of mine that is in the process that we've just done. The hotel to stay at, where you park, all that information I found by searching through Facebook, and it worked. It was all preparation. And yes, it isn't plain sailing. And then of course with the animals, dogs, you have to get your health certificates, and there's certain dates that you have to do things. Horses, even though they were free, gifted to me, not worth anything, I still had to pay VAT and duty and the cost of bringing them down here, which of course was worth it. So yes, it's not, you can't just sort of drive over and set up shop. There's a lot of planning, which I think having the 2 years to do it, also, it gave us that chance to sort of change our mind as well, but we didn't have any hesitations. Even when it was getting to the last week and we were packing up at home, it still felt the right thing to do. So yeah, it's good.
Dave, talk to me about the logistics. Obviously, the visa bit, obviously fine. Talk to us about the logistics. A lot of logistics involved in moving and everything going on with that. How did you get through that?
Well, that was a very interesting process, because really we needed to sell our property, and I was convinced it was going to sell just like that. Everything was up to date, new, pristine. Yeah. But the market sort of really didn't bottom out, it slowed down tremendously, and so we had to reduce the price. When we found a buyer eventually, the logistics of moving stuff sort of changed, because he was prepared to buy everything in our house. So we spent a couple of evenings going around pricing individual items and working out what I would want for it, bearing in mind it would save us £5,000 or £6,000 in removal costs. And then he came back a second time and said he didn't want any of it, which was slightly annoying. But we've got our own stuff here, and it's the best thing. It's worked out great. So we've got a mix of furniture which we purchased and our own things from home. Too much, but it's better than not having enough, I think. The logistics, I think the removal company were pretty good. It took 2 days to pack up at home. It's not a move round the corner. It's needed to be export wrapped. We also got things like drum sets to wrap up, which had to be very carefully exported out here. And then there's the unpacking this end, which wasn't necessarily a priority because we literally just moved in to a furnished house, but we've slowly but surely been bringing items down from the garage, and that's where we are right now.
So then talk to me then, Steff, about the first 2 weeks. What's happened? We're here now. We've had 2 weeks. Talk us through it.
Right. Okay, so we got here Saturday 2 weeks ago, and the next morning Dave and Nick were out doing the fencing. So it was electric tape going around the field in very solid ground and sweltering heat as well. It was in the 30s, but bless them both. That was day one. They managed to get all the fencing in. Then the next thing was doing the stables. So again, it was another hot day in the sun. So before we arrived out, Dave had sourced for fencing and gates, because to me, getting everything fenced off was priority, especially for the dogs, because there's no boundaries here. So they managed to source a company in Haute-Vienne that had wood that we wanted. And she told us that she would deliver on the Monday. Anyway, she had to deliver on the Sunday, and we were waiting, and we thought it's never going to happen, but true to her word, we got all our wood. So the Sunday we could actually build the stables for the horses who were supposed to be arriving on the Monday. Anyway, I then get a phone call from my transporter, who David and Ella, I've got to say a really good word for them. They were excellent at transporting the horses, very reasonable cost. And she said that customs apparently weren't working on the Sunday night, early Monday morning, so they had to be delayed. They couldn't arrive until Tuesday morning. They were getting the ferry from Portsmouth to Caen. So it gave us a bit of extra time, but that was used just tidying up and putting in the post and rail onto the horses' field. But that involved hiring heavy equipment. Now, we're also very lucky that there's a guy called Patrick in the village who is French but speaks very good English, and he is a mine of information. You want something, you speak to Patrick, he can help you. So he managed to get this machinery so Dave could do that. So we're now on to sort of the Tuesday, and we're waiting for the horses to arrive. In between time, we have to walk the dogs, and because they're on a lead all the time, it's constantly going backwards and forwards with them on a lead, unpacking, sorting out the house, going shopping. We still had Nick with us for the first week, so he was also like our hand holder and babysitter. So he was taking us around to all the different supermarkets, and it was lovely because we had him to entertain as well. Wednesday was the notaire day, so that was our appointment, that was our official handover. So Nick was now a tenant, not us, which we were before. So the logistics changed slightly, and I had to start cooking dinner as opposed to him cooking dinner. So that was virtually all of the Wednesday, and we had our first visitors. So Bruno and Hassan work for Christian Laboutin, who lives in the chateau next door. And they came over for nibbles and champagne by the pool. We had met them before when we've been out, and that was lovely to have a chat to find out about the history of this place and make contact. And also they have a farmers market themselves in their village, which is a couple of miles away. So we got invited, we were reminded that that was on Sunday. So that was good too. Then on the Thursday, again, it was just sorting things out because that was non-stop. And, we get up at 6:30 in the morning, walk the dogs before it's hot, just busy doing everything in the house. I'm sure we'd done a déchetterie run, a bottle bank run at that point, because how could you not drink the wine? It's just so good and so cheap. And then on the Friday, we have a couple, a farmer across the road who don't speak any English. But Friday night you get invited into their cave and you sit with Patrick, luckily, so he can interpret. And you have this conversation in French and in English partly, and you drink whatever the home brew is and you eat, and it's lovely. And we came back from there, and then Saturday Nick left, so we were going solo. So on the Saturday we decided, right, we needed to get some horsey stuff. We'd been told of an agricultural place. Could we find it? No. We drove around, sat-nav was useless. But, you know, we saw a lot of the countryside. Then we ended up going shopping because we needed more food, came back, and eventually probably about 9 o'clock, because that's been the time that we've actually managed to sit down.
First of all, having been in the building industry and worked long, solid days, the 2 weeks here have been hectic. As Steff said, we've been up at 6:30 in the morning, and it's probably been midnight before we've gone to bed. So, you know, retirement at the moment isn't really the appropriate word, but it's been great. Week 2 did start off with some rain, and we went to a farmer's market, and unfortunately the market people didn't turn up, so we were huddled underneath a pagoda drinking wine, and I'm not quite sure what else was on available, but we stood there and sort of did the right thing for an hour and a half, 2 hours, mixed with the locals. We have been there previously on our visits, and there's been some produce for sale, but nothing on this day. Week 2, yeah, slightly more relaxed with fencing because that was done. There's plenty more to do, but I do need to hire some heavy machinery, and I need a hand with that. So the kids are coming out, and they don't know yet it's going to be a working holiday, but I'm sure we can grab a couple of days of continuation of the post and rail. It's been really just almost as if we were on holiday at home. We've been finding the shops, going out, buying bits and pieces that aren't here in the house. Yeah.
Well, the best thing is we've been together. I mean, we haven't spent this much time together ever. You know, I think the longest holiday we had was a week. And then it involved kids because, you know, you go on holiday, they all still want to come with us.
Yeah.
And that in itself has just been great. And I think if we were in England, we wouldn't have got that chance. You know, even if we were both retired, we would still be going our separate ways because our life was already established there. But here we're starting afresh, and you know that is a real plus point. So yeah, it's all good.
Talk to us about the next couple of months. What's going to be happening here?
Well, what's in store for the next couple of months? Well, we've got over the priority works. So for me, having worked actually 7 days a week leading up to this, I mean, once we knew we were going to move out here, I have worked nearly 7 days a week, 24/7. It's just been hectic. So the priority now and what's coming up next is some chill time. And the family are going to come out. The girls are coming out. Your children are coming out first. Our children, and then my children are coming out after that. My mum's coming out. My sister actually only lives 45 minutes away. We haven't mentioned that. We're a family already out here in France, as well as Nick having lived here. So it's some chill time and enjoy the property now that we've spent a bit of time working on it. And I just know all the kids, I say the kids, you know, they're 20s and 30s, they're just going to love it. It's going to be an ideal place for them to come. So I think we're going to make it a priority to get that ready for them to enjoy that sort of experience as much as possible.
Priority to me is the fencing. I know it's going to be hard because of the ground and we do need help, but to get that secure for the dogs, and also when the kids come they know their boundaries. We've got a little granddaughter. Friends coming out. Dave's got some of his hockey friends because Dave played hockey back in the UK for a long time. And so they're our first visitors, because it seems a lot of people drive to Spain and they're sort of taking the route down to us. So having them will be great. And I suppose we're hoping to start French classes in September. As Dave said, his sister does actually live about 20 minutes away, which is another security blanket as well, because she's been through all the motions, although she moved out just before Brexit. But any advice, we can go to her. And Derek's a very good mechanic, her husband. So we're lucky in that respect. We're not sort of totally out on a limb, although we didn't know the area. The fact that they've lived here as well, have only had good things to say about it, has made it the decision for us to do it a lot easier. So yes, doing that and just getting to know the area. I think we've got to spend time and just go out for the day, go to the beach, just enjoy life, and not rush around, because that's why we've left our jobs, is to have an easier life, because we're very lucky that we're in a position that we can do this.